Hello, everybody. It's been a 6-year hiatus, but we are back. Between the Lanes podcast. This is episode 13. Yes, we started these during the COVID years, 2020 into 2021, but we have not filmed since then, but we are back. Coach Pierre on the scene coming from Chicago. Coach Johnny Nolan Jenkins, Proviso West. And here's our first guest in the post-COVID era from Belleville West, Alonzo Nelson. We see he has a trophy back there in the background. We see that trophy.
What's up?
Actually, so we'll start there. Obviously, we see that state runner-up trophy from this past season, 2026, Belleville West Maroons, third place last year, 2025. So we'll start there. It's been some weeks since the state meet has ended. How you and the squad feeling? Give us
Um,
a quick reflection on this season as a whole.
like I'm a very spiritual person. I have a close relationship with God, and I always had this joke that I'm God's favorite. However, like with a lot of responsibilities or a lot of gifts comes a lot of challenges, and this was probably one of my like most challenging seasons, with a mix of like the injuries. Like I had like crazy injuries that like kind of hampered us all season. And that was like unusual. Like I usually have injuries, but those injuries are kind of like manageable. And I always know that those injuries come from my athletes doing things on the side. Early football workouts, getting ready for 7-on-7. And down here, I don't know what it's like up in Chicago, but down here, like soccer's really, really big.
Mm.
And so my top long jumper Braden Missy plays for a select soccer team and broke his ankle at one of his soccer matches. I think that was after the third indoor track meet. And that hit us hard because as you all know, like Braden Missy was a part of, well, even if you don't know, Braden Missy was a part of my 4x4 team that got third at nationals and got fifth at state. But he was a part of that 4x4 that ran 3:16.5 last year. So naturally you assume that like, okay, I got a definite 48 leg that I'm adding to whatever I bring on. And that was a hard stop. And then I had like at the West Invite, I had my new long jumper, TJ Cason, rolled his ankle. And one of my top sprinters, Isaiah Williams, dislocated his elbow crossing the finish line after running 10:92, all at the same meet. So those things kind of they added they added more challenges to the season. And then you just know every year the seniors gonna senior, right? I always lose a couple of seniors because they got the senioritis, they ready to graduate, they want to socialize, and I lost a significant 400 guy, Freddie Perry, that had run a 400. He was my trigger leg all last season. So all of those things just added to the stress of just the regular track season that lasts so long. It's like, track season is 2 seasons in one. So for it to all come together, like I kept a level mind, and I kept like positive people around me. My wife was very instrumental, my coaching staff, and just kind of like keeping compartmentalizing everything that was going on, and praying and hoping that it would come together at the right time, and it did. It came together at the right time, and so I kind of had to like let go of the way the season was going and just let it happen, just continue doing what I was doing, and I didn't expect the 4x4 is my race. You already know that. That's my baby. And I didn't know where it was gonna go. And we didn't find out until prelims at state, when it all came together. But when state happens, nobody cares about what happened in indoor season, nobody cares about what happened at the West Invite, nobody cares what happened at sectionals. And that was the most important thing. So um my guys did everything they were supposed to do. The only thing that didn't go according to plan was like our 4x2. But like the 4x2 again, it's like God's will. I was able to put the guy that dislocated his elbow on the 4x2 and give him an opportunity to run. He was just probably like a week out of shape to run that particular leg, and I couldn't put him on a 4x1 because his he's a his right he couldn't get his right elbow back. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
But like the four by two didn't make it in, but everybody else did what they were supposed to do, and so I went to 4x4 and we just had to wait for that high jump to happen. And so by that point, I'm like, hey, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, it totally was a stressful meet. I was there till the end. You actually surprised us. Like I said, obviously I know your background the past few years or more of paying attention, but lay down the stretch, you're right. The injuries piled up. You didn't run certain lineups, and you slid in my rankings,
Yeah.
the miles for power rankings. I did shout you all out on the show and ate a little crow for you guys, but you guys definitely showed up. Um,
Hey Pete, can I chime in? Because I told you,
No,
Lonzo told
hold
me.
on, Johnny, hold on, because we are going to talk his current run a little bit later in the show. We don't want to end the show in 20 minutes. I do want to do one quick reaction from you before we get into your background. Yesterday, the world record fell in the 110 hurdles in the NCAA prelims. Jacoby Thorpe, Auburn University. Your quick thoughts on that?
Man, so like I was I can't say I was surprised that it happened when it happened. Um when I saw it, the first thing I did was I told my wife, I was like, Dawn.
He told me.
Hey,
Hey y'all, how y'all doing?
Hey,
all
we need
right.
you on the show too. We got you on our list too, by the way.
Okay, we can make that work.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Johnny won't be here though. I might fire
Hey, look, man, we saw it happen. I saw it happen first because Dawn we was at my in-laws' house, and I was like, Dawn, I was speechless, right? I wasn't surprised that this kid actually did it because he has all the measurables and he has the experience and he had that momentum. Like, and when you talk about track and field, it's about momentum and confidence, and he had those things. And so when I saw it happen, I was just like, dang, it happened in prelims. And then like the first thought I had was he did it in a collegiate uniform. And I thought about the world record bonus that he probably won't miss out on because we're in 2026.
you.
But like the race was beautiful. Like he executed his race to a T. And like I think what frustrated me though was, or what I was a little like about was, oh, I, I messed up my last three hurdles. And the reality is, like our kids, these kids these days, kids and professionals, they always try. They don't embrace like what just happened for them. They always like looking at the next thing, and I think that kind of takes away from like our moments,
Mhm.
And so, but all in all, like I thought it was phenomenal. It was beautiful the way it happened, and it couldn't happen to a more deserving kid. Like I've watched his journey, and getting sixth at the Olympics was crazy too. Was it? It was sixth. Yeah, it was at the Olympics. It was the Olympics or World Champs. Yeah. So like the kid he had the
Yeah.
swagger.
And I got to interview him last year after after at Nationals at USA's, and he was just like, it was so great crazy because I think he was like in the outside lane, and he was like, yo, my philosophy has always been, you give me a lane, it's a problem. And I said that. He was like, for real though, like I knew I was about, because he had a lane. So
Yeah.
he's a kid, never count him out, but that was a smooth 10 hurdles. All right.
Yeah, the world in trouble.
Eh,
Hey, the world in trouble. Like he got confidence. He got the time behind the confidence. He everybody else is in trouble. You know what I'm saying? And I feel for Grant Holloway because he was you could see how hard he was working to break that world record.
Oh yeah.
And for Jacoby to do it so smoothly, like it's gonna be interesting in a couple of weeks. So I guess it's a month now when we have USA Nationals. But yeah, no, it was a beautiful race, dog.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, we a couple of things you mentioned. You mentioned the 4x4. Obviously, you have a hurdle background, but all that stuff comes from somewhere. So we're going to use this show to kind of to get to know you and to introduce yourself to those who don't know you. Typically, what they call a north of I-80 or Chicagoland. We don't really pay
Yeah.
attention down to what's happening in the southern sector of the state. So we just use this as an opportunity to introduce you and Belleville West to the world, and especially the state of Illinois. A lot of people don't know you're on the podium like Belleville West, so but you did
Yeah.
it twice. So and we know your wife's in the background. So as we hit some other topics, she can fact check you if necessary.
She
So
she
let's get
went
started.
as
Yeah.
deep as
So
her.
let's get started. And Johnny, of course, chime in.
All right.
And don't mind us if we eat lunch or dinner time. We usually that's what we
Uh,
do on the show. If you watch our past shows, would you have something to eat?
so this
Is
what I'm
that?
you know. Like we used to call these Sundance when we was when we was in school. They just corn chips with
Man,
they spicy sweet corn chips. I'm
sounds like that's that foot smell. People smell like feet. I don't like that.
Nah,
Yeah.
it smells good, dog. I'm gonna put you on when you come back down. I'm gonna
I
bring
don't,
something up to you, Johnny. You know how you always help
I
me.
don't eat
Yeah,
spicy.
surprise though. You don't like spicy?
Nah, I don't do that. All right, so let's get right to it.
Hey,
Obviously you're at Belleville West now, but you started somewhere. Can you kind of give us a background, or I guess let us know where you from and kind of your upbringing as a child? Let the people know.
all right. Well, again, my name is Alonzo Nelson Jr. I'm from East St. Louis, Illinois. And East St. Louis, Illinois is the city of champions. And so that's what is like in our blood. From the time we start sports, whenever we start them, the expectation is excellence. The expectation is to dominate. The expectation is to win. And that's where I came from. My dad was he was the girls basketball coach at Lincoln High School. He was assistant coach with Lincoln High School when they was making their runs, and so I grew up in the gym as a little kid. So I'm a gym rat. So basketball was my first love, and I know you asked about like sports. So like athlete, like so my dad was an All American basketball player. He played at Blackburn, and he played on the All American team a few years when he was at Blackburn. And my mom was a cheerleader. She went to college to cheer. But my dad's side of the family is a basketball family. I'm the only Nelson that is under 6 feet. Everybody else is over 6 feet. And I tell my students, I tell my kids, my athletes, like, yo, if I was 6 feet, y'all would have never met me. I'd have been your favorite. I'd have been your favorite athlete, flat out. But I started playing organized sports in the third grade because in elementary school, like we could play basketball. So I started playing basketball, and it wasn't until middle school I got introduced to track and field. Well, like we have so in East St. Louis, every Wednesday is an all comers. In the summertime, every Wednesday is an all comers track meet, and so anybody could just show up and start and race. And they have all the age groups, but even like adults will come, like kids from like college, they'll come back and they'll race some of the high schoolers and all of those things. And so that's the culture. And then like shameless plug, but Jackie Joyner Kersey grew up with my dad and my uncles and stuff. So Jackie Joyner Kersey, Nino Fenoy. I grew up around these people all of my life, and so the expectation of excellence, the expectation to win was just like norm. That's par. That's par from where I'm from. You know what I'm saying? So um, I started running track in the seventh grade. Well, I started in the eighth grade, but I never wanted to run track because when I was younger and we would go to those all comer meets, I would always get third. And you already know. And well, in East St. Louis, third place is last place. And so I didn't want no parts of that. And so my mom, to try to humble me because I was on cloud nine from basketball season my eighth grade year, she made me go off the track because she knew I was scared of it. And I did everything I could to avoid running. So my first event was the pole vault. So I learned everything about pole vaulting. Yeah. Up until my first time running down and putting the pole in the pit, and I went up and I came back down and landed on a basketball court. So I looked around. I was like, what other event can I do that doesn't require running? And this is a 13-year-old mindset, right? Like what else looked like it don't take a lot of running? And I saw hurdles.
Mm.
And I learned how to hurdle, and I won my first hurdle race in middle school, and the rest was history. I started just chasing that feeling of winning. Ironically, I think my third hurdle race we was racing Clark Middle School, so I went to Lansdowne. Lansdowne's closed now, but we was racing against Clark, and Clark didn't have any. Lansdowne didn't have any girl hurdlers, and Clark had one girl hurdler, Dawn Harper. And so they put her in the race with the boy hurdlers. And I was the only person that beat her. And that's how me and Don met. You know what I'm saying? No, for real. True story.
Snap.
But we went to high school together. I went to East Side. I was a three letter athlete. I played for. I was a starting receiver from my sophomore year on. I got recruited from like all the Big Ten schools and around the area. So the Mizzou's, Michigan State, even Northwestern and Louisville. Northwestern was like the school I wanted to go to, but they didn't have a track team. And then I played basketball. My dad was my coach up until like my senior year. We made it to super sectional championships my senior year, and we lost to Centralia. But that we'd have been playing Andre Iguodala. He's at Westinghouse, I think.
No, he's
right?
at Springfield Lanphier.
He was at okay. So
He
we
lost to
missed.
Westinghouse, Chicago. Shout out Chicago.
Yeah. So we missed the state tournament. We lost in the super sectional championship. But and then track season, track I used to run. I was first leg for the 4x8. I used to kick off the 4x8, 155 my senior year.
Hold
Um,
up. The
I used
four
to
by eight?
4x8, bro.
Oh,
Look, Coach D was
hold
my
on.
coach. He would never let me run the 110s during track season. I always ran them in the summertime, and I would always make the final in summer track. But he never let me run them for real during the track season because high school coaches love the relays, and so he was keen on keeping the 4x8 together. So I used to kick off the 4x8, and then I'll run the 300 hurdles, and then I would kick off the 4x4. That was my regular day my senior year, you know what I'm saying? And so my junior year though, I went undefeated in the 300 hurdles up until the state final. I was second to Lillard, and coming down the finish line, I uh I took the last hurdle. Well, I was like so usually in my 300 hurdle race, and like most 300 hurdlers that's gonna win, you see that you winning coming out the curve. Well,
Mhm.
in this particular race, Theato, I think he was probably in like lane 9 or something like that. And I come out the curve and he's out there. So now I'm like humping trying to get him, and the crowd is like riling up, and I'm getting closer and closer. Get to the last hurdle, my stride pattern's off. I couldn't decide whether I wanted to alternate, kick the hurdle over, and trip over the last hurdle and land right in front of the finish line. And
Mm.
so that like devastated me. Then my senior year, I was ranked fifth in the country. I had run 36.6. Um,
Mm.
and
That's Johnny's 200 PR.
I was ranked, and there was a kid. I'm so mad. I'm Adrian Walker.
Yeah,
Uh,
Bloom Township. Yeah, he
yep,
might. Yeah.
yep. So he was the top. He was the top. Me and him were the top like hurdlers in the state, and so at state, that's where we was gonna meet. And like honestly, like these kind of things kind of shape where I'm at right now. Like
Mm-hmm.
I had this perception like, all right, I'm finna scare this dude in the prelims, right? I had never seen him before, and I never seen him race or anything like that. So I'm finna send a message in the prelims. But I also hung up on like sending a message, trying to look good, and not focused on just getting to the final. That I pout going across the finish line. My wife just made a video about this. I'm going across the finish line. I jog across the finish line, and like four dudes just rush the finish line. I don't
Mm.
final my senior year where I'm supposed to win it. And honestly, like that affected like I was getting recruited from by Arkansas and U of I was my top like spots, right? U of I was like after that race, they was like it looked like you can't handle big events, and they gave my scholarship to the 800 champion in 2002, and then Arkansas, um, I was like Arkansas one. They were waiting to see if Tyson Gay was going to graduate from Barton, and so
Mm.
Tyson Gay graduates from Barton, and so Tyson Gay gets that scholarship. So that's like, and like I kind of like I held on to like decide between those two all season, and like because of that, I tell my athletes right away, hey, let's make a decision, let's sign. And I'm always on everybody's head about running across the finish line, but yeah, like those kind of things like definitely helped shape my philosophy and stuff, and I ended up going to Hampton first and transferring
Hold
to
up. I don't want you to jump too far. We
yeah,
got that stuff. I got some. Go ahead, Johnny.
yeah,
Hey, so you remember after the state meet, me and you had a talk,
yeah,
and I always get on Tony and Pierre about this. I say, man, Alonzo gonna be back next year. They was like, man, Johnny, he had his run, and I say, no, he say, man, look, he got some. So I better, I'll put my eggs in your basket, and you deliver
bro.
because Pierre, like, he a guru, and he tell me, man, I got my power
Him?
rankings. I said, you got to put Belleville West in there. He said, okay, Johnny. I say, no, you got to put him in there for next year. Zoe told me,
The year got to start first.
right? He said, man, he got to show me something. I said, okay. And like Zoe, I tell you, we gonna talk Probably in another month, I'm gonna let you enjoy your trophy and like pick your head about next year. Like you said, you're gonna be back again. So
Hmm.
I'm just proud of you, man.
I appreciate.
What about your college days?
So college was like again a bunch of lessons, you know what I'm saying? So my first like because of all of the things that happened my senior year, I was fortunate to get a scholarship at Hampton University because John Davis, who was my coach at Eastside, his daughter Chloe Davis was going to Hampton. And so they gave me a shot. And I ran in the MEAC conference, like they kicked my butt. Like East Coast
Mm.
training is way different than Midwest training. Like they were killing me every day. You know what I'm saying? And my body couldn't handle it. I was like, I hated it. I ended up losing that scholarship for real. And I ended up losing that scholarship and SEMO picked me up. And SEMO picked me up off of the strength, like my dad was talking to Eastern and SEMO. And SEMO found out that I was talking to Eastern, and they was like, nah, we can't lose you to Eastern. And so like I was so grateful to run for Coach Joey Haynes that I like when I say locked in, only thing I did was go to class and go to practice. Go to class, go to practice. You know what I'm saying? I ain't play pickup basketball, I ain't do nothing extra, you know what I'm saying? And so after that, like my first like I ended up breaking the school record, which was at that time like 51.3 or something like that. I ran 50.77 in the 400 hurdles, and at that time, Miles Smith was there with me. Miles Smith is now the head coach at Abilene Christian, but he was the assistant coach at Purdue for a while and at Memphis. But we ran 309 indoors and we ran 305 outdoors, and so that definitely helped like kind of shape like like all of the things in regards it kind of solidified and cemented my perception of like training and preparation and putting things together because when I got to SEMO, they were used to getting like third place in the OVC conference. And you know, in college, conference is the most important thing. And I came there bringing on my East Side, you know, win all mentality, and I learned how to build a team from there. You know, and it takes a lot of connecting with your teammates. You know, in college, well, at the school I was at, I don't know how it is at other schools, but the sprinters hang with the sprinters, the throwers hang with the throwers, the distance guys hang with the distance guys, the girls hang with the girls, boys hang with the boys. You know what I mean? And so me understanding the way the team was built and like what I said I wanted out of this team, and this was just kind of how I was wired. I would go for runs with the distance boys on Sundays. I would lift weights with the female throwers. And when we get to conference, ultimately I'm cheering for everybody, and by that time everybody started cheering for everybody, and we ended up winning conference my last 2 years at SEMO, and then they won a few more times, and so all of those things like creating community has been really really big about me. So that was my college. So
Yeah.
I was an NCAA quarterfinalist in the 4x4 and 400 like 2 years in a row. That's 2005, 2006. I was OVC. I was like 6, 7 time OVC champ. So I won the 110s. I won the 110s in '05 and the 400s, and then I won the 400s. And I got second in the 110s my senior year. And we always win the 4x4. We always dominate the 4x4. Again, like I
Mm.
said, 4x4, my baby, man. And then from there, after I graduated, I ended up moving out to LA with Bobby Kersey, Jackie Johnny Kersey's husband. And it was like it was honestly it started as a graduation gift. He invited me to LA to show me LA and meet his training camp and all of that stuff. And then he asked me if I wanted to continue training. I was like, sure, you know. So I lived with Bobby Kersey, and trained under him from 2006 to about 2013. And that's where I learned everything about like literally coaching track and field.
Oh yeah, we'll get into coaching.
Yeah.
Obviously, you had an all-state high school career, 2001, 2002, East St. Louis, and you just mentioned your college accomplishments and experiences. Since we're on the subject, and maybe things are different back then than they are now, they probably are. But that transition from high school to college, what would you say was the most difficult part for you, or the most difficult adjustments going from high school to college? An athlete.
The most difficult thing
Athlete.
is
Excuse me.
the most difficult thing is like the expectation, right? Like when you go to college, don't nobody know you, right?
Mhm.
You in high school, everybody know you, right? And usually most athletes that go to college to do a sport was the man. When you go to college, you ain't the man no more.
Mm.
And so the question is, are you willing to do the things to be the man again? You know what I'm saying? And if you come from a winning program, are you willing to do the things to either continue the winning ways at the school you at or to produce the winning ways at the school you're at? You know what I mean? And so I think those are the biggest challenges because a lot of our kids, they want things easy. A lot of people want things easy, right? And the thing
Mhm.
are you willing to do the work to get what you want? And I learned that in college. When I was at Hampton, we won indoors and outdoors in the MEAC conference, right? But I wasn't as integral as of a part when I was at Hampton, and so when I went to SEMA, I was like, all right, we don't win. I'm gonna do my part to make sure that we do win, right? And it ain't no overnight sensation, much like when I took over at West, it wasn't no overnight sensation. We were nine factors. I know like Belleville West had a past in the early like teens, like 2011 and 12 and 13 and stuff like that. But when I got there in 2017, like, nah, Belleville West, we get some one-offs. We might win a 4x1 at a track meet or something like that. But we wasn't no threat. And so for me, I had just left Eastside in 2016. We had one state. So again, it was much like me going from like Eastside Hampton to SEMO when I got to Belleville West. And I was like, all right, I know how to make a champion. I know how to make people have a championship mindset. And then it's like, I mean, how many people on this staff and on this team can I get that mindset through? And how long is it gonna take them to believe? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's that was my journey.
Yeah, I find that interesting. I want to skip it a little bit, mainly because you mentioned you coached at East Side. You were an assistant coach, and maybe Johnny can speak on this as well.
Hmm.
Coaching at your alma mater, do you all feel a certain sort of pressure or responsibility by going back to where it all started and going to coach and give back to these kids? What kind of responsibilities or pressures did you all feel?
Go for it, Johnny.
Um, yeah, hey, I'm glad you said that because when I was in high school back in the 80s, when Zoe said East Side, East St. Louis Lincoln, East St. Louis Senior, I remember you heard the guys Cecil Shies them and all these guys he ran the 800, then they was on the 4x4. But coaching at your high school,
Yeah.
like I try to tell my kids, we didn't complain. Whatever my coach told us to do, we did it. We believed in the coach. If you don't believe in your coach, you ain't gonna, why we got to do this and why we got to do this. I was like, I never had my coach tell me to do something and I question him. And Pierre, what you just said, I got a phone call right after the indoor conference meet from alumni. And they was like, man, Johnny, what's going on? And I'm like, man, what's going on? How you feel? It's like 10:30, 11 o'clock. I'm just getting home from the track meet. And he's saying, man, bro, you need to be fired. I'm like, what? He put it all on Facebook, like, who coaching at Proviso West?
Hmm.
And he was like, man, in all his years, in all my years, I never scored 1 point. I scored 1 point indoor conference, 1 point freshman, first off and varsity. My shot putter, he fouled all 3 throws. Everybody just, and I say, man, I know the history at Proviso West. If you go to Proviso West, look on the wall of fame, it's more track all status than anything in the school. And I'm like, bro, I said, can you sit down for a minute? I know you kind of frustrated or whatever. I said, man, do you know how I feel being an alumni, being a state champ, 6-time All-State? I said, the people that came before me, after me, Kerwin Beatty, them, it's a lot of stuff that I got to like live up to. And people don't understand, coming from Proviso West, Proviso East, That's like coming from East St. Louis, Lincoln, East St. Louis Senior. I can't let this school down. I'm an alumni here. So I take pride in trying to bring this school back to where it used to be in the 80s and the 90s. And it's like, that's why I got more coaches. Pierre was like, damn, you got a lot of coaches. Yeah, we had pole vault, we had shot put, we had distance. So, hurdlers. So I'm trying to build a base. And if everybody not on the same page, if you don't got coaches that's on the same page and believe your thoughts, it's not going to work.
Nope.
And I'm like, hey, Pierre, it's stressful. It's stressful. And I want to do this, P. I wanted to do this. I told my kids this. I want to put this program back to where I'm not saying all the way back to where it used to be. Put it back and then walk away, give it to alumni and see if he can pass the torch. I'm getting old. Like I told the young man, I say, I lost 22 seniors. I said, I lost 22 seniors. Huh?
That's a whole team.
I said, I lost 22 seniors. I had young kids. I say, man, it was gonna be rough for me, and to try to figure it out. Me and my coaching staff was like, man, we got to put a rabbit out of the hat. But we got our lumps, and I know, like Zoe, you being a coach, you went to college, you had your ups and downs, and coming from East St. Louis, like you said, it's a tradition. You know what I'm saying? East and West, every school down there, East St. Louis Senior, Lincoln, Belleville, Edwardsville, people look over them schools, but no, like you say, hey, y'all don't have the big hotels and all the lights and all the glamour. These kids coming from the gutter and making it happen. And I'm so proud of you, bro. I always tell you, so you have, because when I took this job at Proviso, people looked at me and a couple coaches say, man, Johnny, you're doing a great job. And I'm like, thank you. I appreciate that. And I try to, me and Pierre and Tony, all of us, I even talked to Millsap. I wanted to bring back the 80s and 90s tradition. You know what I'm saying? And inviting y'all down here, bringing that. People don't never see y'all until it's at the state meet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But hey, I know it's stressful, bro. I know, like I stress every day. I try to tell these kids, man, listen, I can't make you want this. If you don't want this, you know what I'm saying? It's nothing I can do.
100%.
How you feel? How you feel about being from East Side and trying to get it to where them championship years you ran on?
Well, like I think like you hit the nail on the head. One thing about, I think the best coach for a program is a coach that was a part of the program, or a coach that's part of the city, because I think they're like for me, when I was at East Side, I was actually a volunteer coach and I wasn't on salary or anything, but it was like I was there. I was more honored to be a coach than I was, like, what I'm saying, nervous to be the coach, you know what I'm saying? Because it was one of those things where I get to like do all the things that I wanted to do, or like I can find my friends, like, you know what I mean? Like I look at athletes just like in the classroom. I look at students and be like, oh, you remind me of my friend this, you remind me of homeboy that, but being on the coaching staff at my alma mater was just like, I remember growing up and like watching track meets when I was a kid, and like I know that when I put these boys on the track, they finna motivate the next generation of kids that are at the middle school, elementary school, that's going to the JJK meet, the Al Joyner meets, or whatever, and so I'm helping to build up the legacy and like maintain that legacy, and so like I was more proud to be a coach than anything else, and because that was my hood, I knew how I could talk to the kids. You know, I knew their parents, I knew their cousins, their uncles, and all of that stuff. So when it came to, Marlo don't come to practice, I know who to call. You know, KJ Roosevelt, they don't come to practice, I know where they at. Or somebody know where they at, and they gonna tell me. And so it was a beautiful feeling. It was a beautiful thing, and honestly and truly, I got to like get a like when I was there in 2016, I got to really like kind of like figure out what it takes to like coach, on a high school level because I had been prior to that I've been training with Bobby Kersey. I had been on the professional circuit. I watched Bobby Kersey like, the professional circuit goes from well, professionals they start training in October and they stop running in October. They almost training like 11 to 12 months, you know what I'm saying? And so the biggest transition for me was, and I know I'm going into something else, but the biggest transition for me was taking an 11-month like training cycle and shrinking it all the way down to 2 months, 2 to 3 months, you know what I'm saying? But like to coach at Eastside, to coach at my alma mater, I loved it, you know and I coached with pride and like I coached with pride and I think that's the danger though, right? When you go back to your hood, there's you could many places like I do it for free, but gas ain't free. Your light bill ain't free, and when you in your hometown, a lot of people take advantage of that, you know.
Mm.
And so, a person like with like a lot of resources and like they look at you and be like, oh, he don't need this, he don't need that. They gonna take advantage of it and overlook it and abuse it. And honestly, that was the demise or that's what happened to me, and so then when I get to Belleville West and they like give me like for the lack of better words, the keys to the city. If I even did anything just off the strength that like, hey, like some stuff, you do this, that, and the third. And they treated me with respect, right? For me, I was like, okay, I have no problem like locking in and doing everything that I need to do to make this as close to what I want it to be as possible. And it was a journey though. I've been here since 2017. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like to answer your question, I was proud to be, you know, I was proud to be that coach. You know what I mean? Because also, in your hood you can reach out to like if anybody helping you out, they got the same mindset as you, right?
Mhm.
Y'all from the same place. Like ain't no workout too hard because when we was there, we used to do X Y. That would be the conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like all one was we used to run around the block. You been to East Side. We used to run around the block and then run into the stadium, and then we'd start our practice. At one point, we used to run to Frank Holton Park, run to that hill, or run to the flagpole and run back, and then we'd start practice. So it was like it was understood that you ran a mile before you started your workout. And so if I brought anybody else on staff there, they like, oh, we got a mile warm up. Ain't no talking about it. That's the expectation. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And that's honestly, when I got to West and I took over the head coaching position, I had to be really meticulous about like choosing my support staff because the hardest part of being an assistant coach is, having the same philosophy as the head coach. And that usually doesn't happen if y'all like don't come at the same time. And so when I took over my position, my number one thing was making sure that me and my coaches like we saw eye to eye, we understood like we had the same understanding, and we respected each other. You know what I'm saying? So with that, like my mentor, you talk about mentor, Bobby Kersey told me like you want to get the best equipment. And when I think of coaches is equipment. You want to get the absolute best equipment to do your job. You can create everything else when you have the best equipment. So
So
Mhm.
I'm glad you said that. So let me ask you this, because you went right to another question.
yeah.
How did you feel coaching with your wife?
Oh man. Coaching with my wife is like it's like it's great. It's great. And it actually helps build my marriage more. You know what I'm saying? Because um when she comes, I get done with the work day and I'm coming out there to the track where she's just out there, you know what I mean? And so oftentimes I learn how to like one compartmentalize stuff, you know what I mean? But the biggest thing was I had to get out my head, because when you're the head coach, you got everything you want to do right here. You know what I mean? With your assistant coaches, you just tell them what's finna happen, right? With your wife, You need to be like, here, dear, this is what we're doing. Ain't no winging it, bro. She called me on my stuff, you know what I mean? And it's like, and that could be frustrating, but it makes me a better man. And I think like the other beautiful part about it is like my athletes get to see a healthy relationship. And I think that's the biggest part, right? Like we'll disagree, you know. I'll let her take the lead sometimes, and she'll follow my lead sometimes, you know. And my athletes get to see all of that. They get to see all of that, you know, and then like the level of respect I give her is inconsistent with how these boys see men interact with other women. Like, and even our boys, for instance, like, you already know these boys overlook women all the time. You know, a woman can say something to them and they ignore it. They ain't even heard it. They got women on mute. And so with my wife on staff, one, her being who she is, like I have to always be protective of that and cognizant of that and keep like reminding her, like, hey, you ain't got to be out here every day. You know, but the second thing though is like teaching these boys to respect women, you know, and the best part is like my wife can outlive every last one of these boys. You know what I'm saying? And so like when we go to the weight room and we talking about hang cleans, they over here trying to hang clean like 135 pounds or something like that, or they struggling with 115. I'd be like, Don, come show them the proper way to hang clean. No warm up or anything. She just go to the bar, she like do a quick high pull, and then she just go and like throw it up there, and they be
Mm.
like, you know what I'm saying? And like those are the beauties of like just kind of showing these boys like um like the just what women could do, the power of a
Yeah.
woman. And like when she was still training, like she just officially retired in 2021, 2022, right? And so up until that point, she'll hop out there and run some 200s with them. And not the like the tempo 200s, to take it under 200s. Where I'm like
Mm.
come through 24, 23, and like they over there trying to keep up with her. You know what I'm saying? And she just like, you know what I'm saying? And so like I get to expose them to something like, you know what I mean, greater, and like have a different perspective and respect for women. And like to be honest, like just to be completely candid, like I have white athletes on the team, right? And so teaching them how to like intentionally like show respect, and like teaching them that hey, like when you come in a room and you don't speak to nobody, that's disrespectful, bro. You know?
Mm.
And oftentimes they get to do that stuff. That's a privilege, a luxury that they have, you know. And we kind of like reshape their understanding of things and people. But like Dawn, I get to show forth like the strength of a woman, how to respect a woman. And I get to enjoy like her expertise and knowledge in the sport of track and field. And like I told Tony this last year when J. Cole won state, right? They was
Mhm.
like, man, and he being coached by your wife, right? I was like, Don ain't coached him yet.
Mm.
Don didn't start really coaching him till this year. Cause like he wasn't ready for that, you know what I mean? But like it's such a beautiful thing to just like kind of like one be with my wife like with at this time, and then like just kind of like honestly build our relationship even more, but also like kind of give boys an understanding of what a healthy relationship is and can be.
On that thought, is there anything you think you could have done different coaching?
Hey,
Um,
one thing, just for a point of clarity, with your wife, you mentioned you started in 2017. Did she start with you in 2017, or excuse me, in 2017, were you an assistant or the head coach at West?
Yeah, so in 2017 I was assistant coach, and
Okay.
like side like so my wife is Dawn Harper-Nelson. Like for everybody that don't know, Dawn Harper-Nelson is an Olympic champion from 2008 in 100-meter hurdles. She got silver in 2012 in a 100-meter hurdles. She's a four-time national champion. She's a Continental Cup champion in 2014, where she still has the championship record. And then she's a four-time Diamond League champion. She won from 2012 to 2015. Like in the hurdles, in the women's hurdles, there hasn't been anybody that's won more Diamond League trophies. And then
Mm.
she's a two-time world champion. She got in 2011 in the world champ, she got bronze, and in 2017 she got silver at the world
Yeah,
champ.
London. Yeah,
Like
that's what I thought.
And
So yeah.
so during that time when I started assistant coaching, she was still living in LA. So me and my wife used to like she trained in LA at UCLA and I lived here. And
Mm,
so she didn't move back here until the end of 2018. And so we weren't full time like together 365 until 2018, 2019.
mm.
Um, and that's when she got pregnant with my oldest daughter, Harper. So yeah, nah, she didn't start, she was still training. So she was still training, had Harper, started training again for the 2020 Olympics. COVID happened, pushed it back to 2021. So she's still
Yeah.
training in 2021. And so she didn't start coaching with me until I took over the program in 2022.
Was that a hard sell, or is it like, 'cause, coming from the peak of our sport, the Olympic Games, World Championships? How was that sell? Was it like, hey, you want to come coach with me, or did you kind of have to like nudge, or how did that work out?
Bro, that was the only like so the fact that she loves the sport so much is the only reason why I'm still coaching, right? But the other thing that helped was her coaching help scratch that itch of that competition, that competitive itch, right? So for her, she gets to like help build another kid up or build some people up to like then compete against everybody else. And so for her, like that's like if y'all watch her at a track meet, you see that fire in her eyes, like she finna get in the blocks herself. You know what I'm saying? And so like her being out there scratches that competitive itch that that like I could never replace. We just had this understanding. We was like, look, 2016, 2017, when you retire or whatever, like you got to retire on your own terms. I ain't gonna tell you when to come home because I can't fill that void of track and field. She been running since she was 12, you know. But whatever you want to do, you got to do it from here now. You know, we was going back and we were like bi-coastal for like 6 years of our marriage, you know. But yeah, like her coaching scratches that competitive itch like none other. Like that like she get fired up to coach, you know. So like nah, like if she didn't have that fire, I wouldn't be coaching. Like I'd be done. I'd be doing something
Mm.
else, flat out.
Sorry to interrupt, Johnny. Sorry about that.
No, no problem.
It will happen again.
Right. So, like I was saying, is there anything you wish you could do, you have done differently
Mm,
As far as like coaching.
in coaching? In coaching, so
from coaching, I think
since you started being a head coach.
since head coaching, I mean, you know, hindsight is 2020. There was one thing that happened like my first year where where I had this family that was super active and supportive, right? Their son he wasn't on par, right? And he was slacking. And I allowed my decision for the team was based on like me being like not for the lack of better words loyal to this family. So quick story. So like when I first took over, like I said, bro, I love the 4x4, right?
Hmm.
I had this team. It was Jacob Bates, Ramonte Abram, um, Tim, what's Tim last night? Tim Carter, and I had another kid. And they was like a back in 2020 22, like 324 was like it go far, right?
Mm.
324 could go far. All
Those
right.
days are over.
Those days are long
Those days
gone.
are over.
But I had a kid, like one of the kids on the team, he had a lot of potential. Like he was like a 445 miler. He was like a 52-1, like 51, like 400 runner, which pans out really well on a relay. And towards the end of the season, he just stopped showing up. He wasn't showing up for practice as much. His motivation had like kind of dwindled. Yet and still, his family's like contribution to the team, like they was just showing up and showing up and showing up. All the while, I had this other kid that was like Patrick Henderson, is a white boy that was like he was a junior at that time, and like he was showing that he had that it, right? And after Tim ran on the relay at sectionals, it was the year. So in 2022, I think what happened at sectionals was we had to run a 4x4 at like so we did the whole sectional meet. It was in O'Fallon. I might be getting the years wrong. Ran a whole sectional meet up into the 4x4. The
Mhm.
the we had to like delay the track meet for like the third or fourth time. So they was like, all right, let's cancel this and we're gonna finish the meet tomorrow. Tomorrow meant that we had to go to like Springfield or Glenburg South, or like we had to go
Glenwood, probably Glenwood.
Glenwood. We had to go to Glenwood. So we had to go to Glenwood to run a 4x4 and finish the triple jump, right? And so we do that, and Tim's our weakest leg. We get second to Springfield Southeast. I mean, not Champaign Centennial, because that's the year that that's also Homeboys last year. The dude that did the triple, um, Jordan Lacey, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
so that's John
Centennial.
Lacey's junior year, right? We get second in the 4x4. And honestly, like in that 4x4, it was just three teams that ran that went up to the Glenwood, right? It was us, Edwardsville, and Champaign Centennial, right? But when that race happened, I was like, I need to put Patrick on there, right? But we get to state, and Tim's parents is there. They excited and all of this stuff. And like in the back of my mind, I was like, Tim don't need to be on this. Like, and like I just watched that relay. We was moving. Like my first leg, Jacob Bates, he kicked it off like maybe like 50.49, right? He was another white boy. He just missed making state. He ran 50.35. He ran 50.35 or something like that. At that time, 50.27 was like state qualifying. He had just missed qualifying. It was his junior year too. He kicked it off, ran amazing. He passed it to Martavion, right? He ran amazing. We passed it to Tim, and the field just left him, and it put us in a big hole. And like so, the one thing I would change is like I would like basically like trust my gut and like
Mhm.
and deal with the repercussions later. And so because of that, 2024, um, in the prelims, I ran my 18.
Mm.
I'm not making this mistake again. Like I know what we're capable of doing as a team, but I'm not finna chance it by putting, this sophomore that could run 50 point or could run 54. You know what I'm saying? And so from that point on, that kind of shaped that definitely shaped how I see people, or how I put people in races, and like how I put my relays together.
Right.
So do you?
Yeah.
So do you? My fault, Pierre. Do you consider yourself an old school or new school coach?
I'm 100% old school, my guy.
Ooh.
I'm old school, dog.
Right.
What makes you old school? Like obviously kids are different than when you ran in the early 2000s like me, and obviously when Johnny ran in the 60s. But what 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 specifically makes you old school, and how's that difficult in this new school era?
Um, what makes me old school is one, uh, I'm a, um, I'm like, I'm absolutely against less is more, right?
Oh, do tell.
I'm
'Cause
a,
oh,
I'm a foundation, I'm a foundational coach, right? Because like I told coach under the pretense like you need to be able to do this over and over and over and over and over again. Less is more. I won't knock it. It produces fast times, flat out, 100%. It gives people the results for this generation, right? Everybody want to run fast. All right. Less is more is going to allow you to run fast, maybe once or twice, maybe a season. But it like my thing is if you don't build no foundation, like you can't build a foundation with less is more. What's gonna happen is you're gonna keep sharpening, you keep sharpening that athlete, you keep firing that nervous system, and it ain't gonna be able to produce that the next year. It might do it like for a race or two, but when it's time to like cash in May, end of May, it don't happen. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
But like, and so for me, like, I'm like, I tell my athletes because, like, the program that, like you said, the program kids mostly come from is like, Hey, you want them to be happy, you want them to have a good time at practice, you want it to be fun, yada yada yada, you want it to be short and sweet. And I'm like, don't nothing feel better than winning.
Right.
Mm.
Nothing.
Nothing feel
Nothing.
better than winning. Ain't nothing better than having that confidence. And like, and if so, if you ain't doing it in practice, you ain't gonna do it in the meet, right? And if you do it in the meet, you don't know how you did it, right? And so like Bobby Kersey always told me, he was like, this is his number one quote that I live by. Those that know how can beat those who can, right? And so you get these kids out here in these programs that run really, really fast, one time, two times, early, and they're like, dang, I didn't know they was gonna do that. Like, bet. I do. I know how to make it happen, right? And so the challenge is trying to like get my athletes to realize that April times don't matter in May. February times, January times don't matter in May. Rankings don't matter in May. You know what
Mm.
I'm saying? Like,
Preach, preach, preach.
hey, hey, I'll say this, Pierre. Like, I appreciate everything y'all do for the sport, flat out. Like, especially in Illinois, right? And them rankings, like, those do put a fire under everybody. Like, like, if you don't put them rankings out, ain't nobody motivated. You know what I'm saying? And so like I knew exactly where you was getting these rankings from. And that's why I preach to my kids like, yo, don't worry about them rankings, dog. I even had to spell it out. I was like, look, we ranked this way because of the way we ran in sectionals and not the way we ran, the times we ran. All this stuff is based off times, dog.
Hmm.
And like and I try to tell my kids, don't let these rankings be law to you. And that's what I love
Hmm.
about track, right? I love track so much because you could be ranked number one, show up to the West Invite, and get beat by a state semifinalist. You know what I'm saying? Don't know nobody see him coming. You know?
Yeah, so I do want to get into training, but I feel like I got to take a pause to speak on two things. We coming back to this training because I do have questions about that. But
Yeah.
I do want to talk about your professional life and some of your interests before we get back to the track part of things.
Okay, for sure. Yeah.
You you probably teach a subject that 90% of the kids hate coming up in high school, elementary school. They always question, why do we need this when we get grown? And
Oh
of course,
yeah.
that's math.
Yeah.
You were teacher of the year back in 2024 in mathematics. Um, you are attacking a subject that most people don't like, unless they've got to be a physicist or some sort of scientist or something to that nature.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how you got into math? What do you like about math, and how can you apply, some how do you apply like mathematics to your coaching, maybe the philosophy of math into coaching? How do you tie the two together?
All right, well, for sure. My parents were math teachers,
Hmm.
right? So my dad taught math at Lincoln High School, and then he taught at Eastside. He was, and my mom was a math teacher. She taught at Lansdowne. So she first taught at Venice, and then she taught at Lansdowne. She was my pre-algebra teacher in middle school, and then my dad was my algebra two and my calculus teacher. My grandmother did everybody's taxes in East St. Louis. Um, and so like my family is a numbers family. You know what I mean? Everything we do is like numerical in nature. I grew up when I was growing up, I knew I wanted to go to the NFL, right? Because that's everybody's dream as a kid, right? That's around sports. You want to go to the NFL, NBA. But then I also knew that I wanted to help people. And so initially I wanted to be a doctor. And then I realized that like doctors take too long. Let me be a pharmacist because I could do that in 6 years, right? And so en route to be a pharmacist. So in college I was a chemistry I got my undergrad in chemistry, so I'm a nerd, right? I got my undergrad in chemistry, and en route to doing that, one of my mentors, she told me like get some education credit because you just never know what's gonna happen. And so when I graduated from college and I was training for like running professional, I didn't have no contract, so I had to work. I was a substitute teacher, and that was the first thing I did, and I loved it. It was just something about watching those kids' light bulbs go off, right? Like when a kid understands something, like that's a great feeling for me. And And it came natural to me because, like, again, my dad was a preacher, he's a teacher, my mom was a teacher, and the way they raised me was like, all right, I'm gonna tell you this, I'm gonna review it afterwards. You need to tell me what you learned and all of these things. So, that's just the way my brain operates. And so I just had to, and I've always had this service life like mindset, serve people, right?
Mm.
My side job in college was I was a math tutor. I was a math and science tutor. You know what I'm saying? And so I've always been a service to the people. And so probably in 2015 is where I got my nickname. I started so in 2015 I started, and this was prior, like before, COVID, long before COVID, but I started recording my classes when I was at Eastside because I also knew that when you get to like more complicated course like subjects, mom and dad can't help you.
Mm.
So what I would do is I start recording the class so then the kids can be like, because in class, everybody understand it. Everybody, what I'm saying, shouting out the answers and all of those things. And so I started recording the classes and I was like, what should I call myself? And one of my students, like she's like, Mr. Do the Math. And I was like, Mr. Do the Math. And that stuck with me. And so from there, I started a YouTube channel and I would record my classes, kind of explaining, not kind of explaining, but explaining like whatever subject it was. And I got really, really comfortable with like kind of just like, in my own language and in my own way explaining math concepts. And I pride myself in like taking those more challenging ones and explaining those. And I'm really intentional about that because our kids don't get to see a lot of, they don't get to see a lot of like black intellects in front of them that look like them and like dress like them and talk like them and all of those things. And especially when, you begin like mobilizing yourself and like upgrading your life, like your kids become one of few in spaces and they see like very few of us and especially black men, you know
Mhm.
and in inner city schools and in suburban schools, like the black educator is diminishing, you know what I'm saying? And so for me, I'm intentional about like showing myself or like being present, so that kids can be like, oh, okay, like it's okay that I'm good at math and I want to be good at math. It's okay that I'm good at science. It's oh, this person helps me understand it better. It's okay. You know what I mean? It's okay to teach like math. And so I've been really intentional about like kind of motivating like young men to get into education and math and stuff. But yeah, like I love it. I love it. And like math is finite. Like it's absolute, right? The rules are the rules. And because of that, like I take that into my coaching, right? So if I give the kids a pace, I'll be like, all right, break this down, right? If we got a 200 and say I'll be like, hey, come through the 224, right? Right away, I like what's the 100 got to be, right? And like they doing the math, right? If we like, all right, our goal we want to run this time in this relay. What's the splits got to be, right? And so Johnny hit his split, Pierre hit his split, Alonzo hit his split. You know what I'm saying? This last leg hit they split. Like at the least, at the minimum, we gonna run this. And so it's like I said, man, like math is everywhere. And so, when kids be like, when am I gonna use this again? I be like, I'm glad you asked. You know what I'm saying? So like I definitely like, I'm a numbers guy. I coach by the numbers, you know. And so from steps in the hurdling to like where you need to be at 10 meters to 20 meters to 200 meters to 400 meters. And that's just what it is.
Yeah, math is that's quite a subject. I don't know how I went through college only taking one math class. So somebody must have known me. We noticed you've been involved in yoga. I've seen some of your posts on social media, Belleville West, social media track pages. Yoga. How did you get into yoga? Was one thing that like I said, most people don't like math, and when you talking yoga, like some of these poses you do, I be having my back hurt. I'm like, come on, man.
Oh yeah. So so yoga when so when you think of yoga, you think of like, a housewife. You definitely don't think of no brothers doing yoga, anything
No,
like that.
it's all the brothers doing yoga right there, though.
100%, but like my mom introduced me to yoga when I was like in the ninth grade. I was going to the ninth grade. I was in the eighth grade. She was still recovering from like having my brother. We 12 years apart, and she would watch it on TV. And she called me into the room to like look at yoga, and I was like, oh, this is the same thing we be doing like we do when we warm up for track, except they doing it to music. This particular like show I was watching, and from there I was just hooked. So I would wake up at like 5 in the morning and follow the yoga class and do the yoga sessions with them, and I would just like continue about my day. As a result of that, though, I never pulled a hamstring. I never had a muscle injury in high school or college, right? And so
Mm.
after high school, I continued doing yoga, and so much so that I took it as a course. I even taught it a bit when I was in college, but I also used to introduce my teammates and my friends to it, right? And I just carried that along with me to like LA, and I introduced Tiana Madison.
Mhm.
I introduced her to yoga, and as a result, like she's actually a yoga teacher as well. She was featured on Yoga Journal, um, and my wife was in Yoga Journal as well, during the Olympics in 2016. But I know what yoga does for me, and so my friends and my loved ones, I introduced them to it as well, because the gift that yoga gives is invaluable. Like think about it like this: people that smoke, what are they really doing?
Mm.
They
Destroying their
inhale,
lungs.
yeah, well, destroying their lungs, but in the process, they inhaling and exhaling, right? And so at the simplest position, like or in its simplest form, like yoga is just like returning to your breath, right? And so anytime that I'm stressed, and I teach my daughters right away when they feel upset or anything like that, I like Zoe, take a deep breath. And like when she was 1 and 2, she would take a deep breath and exhale. She calmed down. When we take a smoke break, we essentially just taking a bunch of breaths and we come back in. We just have like a device that distracts us from like the real thing that you're doing. And now that I'm like in my 40s, yoga like it reminds me to move in ways that I wouldn't naturally do on a daily basis, right? Raising my hands over my head, you know what I mean, leaning to the left and the right, touching my toes, you know. And so much so that as a 41 year old, like I still can move as if I'm a 20-year old,
Mm.
and I definitely attribute that to my yoga practice. And now like that I've been doing it for over 20 years. The bigger challenge or the biggest addition to my yoga practice is my meditation practice. And so because I know what it's done for me and how it keeps me grounded, it keeps me strong, it keeps me mobile. It's definitely a fixture in my program, in my track program. So once a week, we definitely like stopping everything and we doing yoga, like flat out. I'm taking over the weight room, I'm taking over the cafeteria. When it's warm enough and like lacrosse ain't out there and girls soccer ain't out there, we take on the football field. But I give my athletes the time to just like kind of stop and slow down because our athletes just go, 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 go. They got this phone in their face all the time. They trying to keep up with this person and that person. And so when we get to our yoga practice or when we get to yoga, like we always start off with them just like laying flat on the ground, closing their eyes and just not moving, you know. And that also that in essence gives that nervous system a chance to kind of reset and slow down, you know. Um, and then they learn to be more in tune with their bodies, have better body control. That's another secret to like prevent injury. Like Marquez,
Yep.
for instance, like right, he can tell me when his body feels weird before something bad happens or things could be worse than they are. And I think that's because like I give them that space to kind of like tap into that to their own selves. So yeah, like nah, like yoga is super important to me, and like the blessing is so since 2018, I've had a yoga studio down here in St. Louis. It's the Collective STL, and we've been providing donation-based yoga, because again, when you ask the average person who does yoga or anything like that, it's never a black person. And even when I was doing yoga, I was always the only black person in the room. I never knew another black yoga teacher. And so if you're trying to like get into it, if you can't see yourself, or you can't see like, um you can't see a reflection of yourself doing it, you're not gonna be motivated to continue doing it. And just like with my math teaching is the same with yoga. Like I'm showing people, black people, particularly black men, that hey, we do this stuff too, and it's good for us, And so, uh, like I said, I have my yoga studio. We provide donation-based yoga. We focus on marginalized people, because again, yoga is expensive. Like the mats are expensive, the classes are expensive. Everything it takes to do yoga is a barrier for black people, right? And so we remove that barrier. I was fortunate enough to be a Lululemon ambassador, store ambassador down here in St. Louis. And I started in, what is it, 2026? I started in 2024. And last summer I started doing yoga with your bros. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'm super proud of that,
I
but
thought that was you on that picture when I was in Lululemon. They don't have my size and nothing.
Ah,
Yeah, I got to trim down a little bit.
yeah, well, let them know you get a discount, right?
And
Let
that's
them
you
know
with the kiddos, by the way.
what you say.
But that's you with the
That's my
kiddos.
babies. Those are my babies. Yeah. And those are my little assistant coaches. I was sad they didn't come to state this year, so they couldn't get a picture on the podium. My oldest got sick, so my parents couldn't bring him up. But yeah, like I started yoga with your bros this summer. Well, last summer, and it was just a monthly meetup with men where we can like do sound bath meditation, um, kind of talk, because we don't get to like kind of like get stuff off our chest. If we got partners, it takes a lot up for us to explain enough for them to understand kind of what we going through. So when you get in a space with a bunch of men, like it don't take a lot, you know what I mean? And we got a lot to say. And so I provide that space for them, and then we do a little bit of yoga. And so I've been doing that monthly since July 2025. But again, like I think like my yoga practice, me doing yoga, just like return the poem Return to Love, when you let your light shine, you give other people like permission to do the same. And so me doing math, me like showing my wife and working with my wife, me doing yoga gives all, like I'm trying to give other people like, yeah, permission to like do all the little things that you want to do and not be ashamed of it. So yeah, that's a bit about that's my yoga practice.
Yeah, it's a storm brewing, so Johnny had to get out to school and get
Yeah,
home.
I got you.
Then we'll get caught in the flooding parking lots of Proviso West. Um, One big thing, and then we'll hit some rapid fire for you.
Yeah.
You touched on it earlier, the old school versus new school. You mentioned that you are old school. There are many options of training out here. We specifically brought up less is more, and for an example. But if you care to share, I know you have some competitors out there that's sitting around with pen and paper.
Right.
Can you kind of give us an insight or a peek into your training method and why it works for you?
Yeah. So trying to like explain and be cryptic at the same time, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Uh I look at my team as a program, right? And what I mean by that is um I try to treat my athletes as like they not one-offs, right? Even
Mhm.
though we live in this era where kids they hop to the hottest team going and all of those things. I understand that like in order to like have a champion or to find success, it's not a 1 year thing, it's a multi-year thing, right? And so when I say like the most important thing for me is building a foundation. Foundation can vary. It could be a plethora of things, right? Them understanding their specific event, um, them like understanding like whatever workload they want to like have on a daily basis. So for instance, like if you are a 400, like if you're like let's say put it this way, if you're an 800 runner, right? 9 times out of 10, you're gonna run a mile sometimes, you're gonna run an 800, and you probably gonna run the 4x8 or the 4x4, which means that you could clear upwards of 2,000 meters in a track meet, right? So it makes no sense for me to train you running less than that amount of distance on a daily basis. I'm setting you up for failure ultimately, right? Either you're not going to perform well or you're going to get injured eventually. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, the most important thing is building that foundation, like I said. And so the foundation is like that's your strength, right? And so honestly, oftentimes if we make practice short and sweet, something's going to like be affected negatively by it, right? Either they're gonna be weak in the area, they're not gonna be flexible, they're not gonna understand the event or like any of those things, right? And honestly, I feel like also like the byproduct of spending a lot of time together, you get more buy-in with your program, your coaches, and your teammates. You know what I'm saying? So um I always look at an athlete like, all right, you might run well this year, but you're absolutely running well next year, right? And so um I train everybody based on where they are, right? Everybody's not a Troy McClain. And I knew that I I knew and I escaped it from my mind that people were gonna look at the fact that Troy was like, graduating, that like, hey, that's the end of Belleville West, right? Because everybody thought Troy McClain was the face of Belleville West, right? And honestly and truly, like, people like yourself, you saw Marquez Bulliner and was like, all right, Marquez is gonna be the face of Belleville West. And little did everybody know, and like he surprised me, like Jalen Cole took over the team, you know? And I had and again, but like J. Cole did like I give my kids extra work, and I tell them if you wanna be great, there's no such thing as like extra, right? That's par. That's the understanding. But like I don't know, like so for me, it's just like I train the athletes based on what I'm going to expect them to run.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? If that makes any sense.
yeah. So I don't know. And some other people may not know either the makeup of Belleville West High School or your team. What is? I know you mentioned soccer is big down there. What kind is your mix with basketball, football players? And I ask because in this northern part of the states in Chicago, we have a lot of privates and things like that where it's football, 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 and that kind of prevents an old school type of training. Whereas if you say,
That's
"Hey,
so
do
true.
volume," or "I'm quitting, I'm going back to the weight room," is that
No,
something you dealt with? And if so, how did you kind of navigate through that and make it work?
well, so like that's a great point, right? So it's unfortunate but fortunate for me, right? And down here, football is Lord, right? But in Belleville's more of a basketball, like, what I'm saying, district. Like, so our district is a Belleville East and Belleville West. That's all we got in our district, right?
Mhm.
And so in the city of Belleville, we want to be good at football, right? But our bread and butter is, like, to be honest, track and field, right? But
After this year, yeah, we saw that.
hey, flat out. So like our bread and butter is track and field, but over the years it's always been like baseball. We've had some really good soccer teams. I have a really good 2 miler that plays tennis, so he's never run distance for us, right? So it's all of those other sports, right? But in the rest of the conference, the Southwest Conference, where Edwardsville and Eastside and Collinsville's and all of them, like Collinsville's a baseball school, Edwardsville's a football and wrestling school for the most part, and track and field, you know.
Hmm.
Um, and then Eastside is basketball and football. They used to be track and field, basketball and football though. You know what I'm saying? And so um I've I'm fortunate enough to not have the last kid I lost to football was Dominic Lovett, right? Who played
Mm.
he played.
He left the school. What you mean?
Yeah, that's what I mean, right? I lost him because he went to Eastside to play football. You know what I'm saying? But he ran for me his freshman sophomore year. Um, and so but to deal with the allure of your footballs and less is more, like we spent time in the weight room, like we lift weights, you know what I'm saying? we lift weights in the fall. Like we do I do the things that I know teenage boys want to do, right? That's my carrot, right? So we gonna throw up some weight, we're gonna lift weight, and and then like I'm really big on team building. I'm really big
Mm,
on community, right? So every year we go bowling, you know, or and this year like I'm really good friends with Altof's golf coach who owns an indoor golf simulator space. And so he hosted us this year for our team building. And so I always like to introduce my boys to like different stuff. And like in the past, we went to a Battlehawks game. That's the UFL team here in St. Louis.
yep.
And so like I do a lot of unconventional like unconventional things when it comes to like this 3 month program called track and field. Yeah, track and field is the punishment of every other sport, right?
Yeah.
It
You
don't mean
right.
I gotta punish them every day. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So, like I love on my boys. I treat them like they my sons. Um, we do a lot of stuff like so. I'll take them to a yoga class here or there. We definitely take days off. Where we do yoga or we don't do anything at all. Because like again, I understand the what I'm saying the challenge of the sport. I understand the challenge of the length of time the sport is, right? If we start
Yeah.
training in the wintertime and by state law, we can't really compete till after MLK, well, weeks after MLK Day, and I don't do summer track or I don't do club because again, we got football, right? I don't do club or summer track because I'm not trying to I ain't trying to fight nobody else for like 7-on-7 AAU basketball,
Hmm.
right? So I just like I wait for my time, and then when they with me, they with me, you know. So, but yeah, like I do that, and then but I also do show them love in the off season, right? So if I got a football player, I'm gonna go to their football games. If they need me in any capacity, I'm gonna be there for them. And I'm at their basketball games. I'm at their cross country meets. You know what I mean? Like I've been fortunate enough to like use my resources to like get my cross country boys, my distance boys to run cross country shoes. You know what I'm saying? And so like a lot like those things along the way, I plant seeds into my athletes and my students so that they do consider like going out for track and staying out. It don't work all the time. But for the most part, like I'm just doing everything that I can in my power. So then when it's all said and done, I don't have those regrets like I told you like in my first couple of years.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, trust me, it's a problem up here. I coached boys for 15 years in the private schools, and
Yeah.
I've been with the girls the last couple of years. So it's definitely a difference. But I have to just deal with stuff like hair and makeup and stuff like that. But it's
Yeah.
way different.
Yeah.
Let's hit some rapid fire stuff. Before we get you up out of here, it's a storm brewing up here in Chicago. I don't know what's going on. They say
Okay.
80. They say 80-mile-per-hour winds, which I know y'all get that typically in Belleville West with these 10-1s y'all be driving by.
Ah!
And a
Hey,
Deja Hodge,
speaking of
yeah.
that, speaking of that, my feelings are still hurt by Illinois track review, bro. When Quez ran that 10-3, bro, they hit me with the like, is those hand times? I'm like, come on, man. Come on, man. Yeah, but yeah, like nah, let's hear it. What's the questions you got?
Yeah, Deja Hodge just went 1063 championship record, by the way. In the prelims, out of control in Georgia. They good. Um, so let's hit you with these questions. The Belleville West Invite. I've been there every year, with the exception of COVID, since 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Got an invite from Coach Seagraves. We had a top hurdler, and I was like, oh damn. That was actually my first time going to the Metro East.
Okay.
Um, for any meet, I liked it. Then I went to the Edwardsville meet the same year. It's like, oh, we got to come back down here with weather. So that's my first experience with the Southwest Conference, with that area. And that meet has grown, obviously, as you know, the meet director for the past few years. Um, as far as goals for this meet, and I will agree that this is the number one boys meet, regular season meet of the year on an annual basis. And I don't think
Well,
anybody can.
kudos to you and Miles for like helping build that allure too. Like, I mean, it doesn't happen without, different people like yourself, and Tony like kind of building the allure and like you having the influence up there to even like tell people about or like even influence people to come down. So like thank you for I appreciate you for that.
Yeah, I like the meat. I just hey, when it's cold, when in doubt, head south in the cold. Yeah,
So,
it's definitely important. As Johnny mentioned, we usually don't see teams in the Metro East or vice versa until
yeah,
the state meet. Like if you got a Marquez Bulliner or McLean, who are defending state champions and things like that, I want to see them early. I want to
yeah,
see how I stack up, and I want to take it to them. So
yeah,
everybody doesn't have that mindset. Like it's a lot of teams that I'll say, "Hey, you should come to Belleville West," but they just
yeah.
want to stick to their schedule. And I get that. I'm just a
No,
media
that's
guy.
hey, that's why we come up there in the
Yeah,
in the winter. Like we come up there in the winter because it's like y'all got the fire. Like I want them to feel the fire early, so then when we get to sections, ain't nobody
yeah,
nervous. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Yeah. We appreciate that more. But this Belleville West invite. What are your goals for this meet? I know it's grown over the years. I'm not sure if you want to keep it large or shrink it down, or what's the goals here?
Well, like I wanna continue the legacy that Patton Seagrave started with the Belleville with Belleville West Invite being as big as it is and as competitive as it is. I feel like we all view it as like a prelude to state, right? It's pre-state,
Hmm.
right? The way the teams finish, the way that the whoever wins, usually whoever wins the 100, the whatever event,
Right.
is gonna win it at state. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Look, Quez won the 400 at the West Invite. We didn't plan on him running it at state, but he wins state. You know what I'm saying? Troy won it his senior year. He wins state. The guy like we didn't know about Con Key, but
No.
you know what I mean. So like I look at I always I try to one I want to keep those powerhouses there, but I think like I want to be more intentional this season about really inviting those one trying to replicate the state finals. Whoever's been hot indoors trying to get them into the meet. Like if
Hmm.
they don't have a team, just getting that individual. Like I want to be
At large.
I want to be better about getting those at large athletes there. My other thing, and this is like again, it's a side quest on my own, but I'm gonna be reaching out to those hotels around here and trying to get like a package in place so that it can be more affordable for like my northern schools to come down because like me going up to Chicago, like I'm dropping 2 stacks that weekend. You know what I'm saying? And it's just that's just the nature of the beast. You know what I'm saying? And so like I know that once you get out of indoor season, people money ain't the same,
Yeah.
but like for the sake of your program, you want to for their safety because you don't want no injuries, and then just for like change of scenery and competition, you want them to come down, and so if in any way that I can try to like alleviate some of those fees for like these programs, that's big for me. So I want the at large. I want to be better about at larging, and then I want to like try to like create some kind of packaging for like my visitors. Um, I battle with like inviting like Missouri. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Cause like to be honest, like Illinois has enough, and they have enough, and they've made this event, amazing, right? And so I think that's my biggest that's my the biggest thing I deal with in my head. It's nothing anywhere else. But yeah, like I love the event. Like I wanna continue to build it up and dress it up. So my
Yep.
my big goal this year is to dress it up even more, right? I want it to be like visually appealing. And so with that being said, those state champions that I have that are going to be returning, I want to try to like I want to have like some gold bibs made for them, and so that
Oh, I like it.
so then like like oh that's state champion right there, and you see his name on his bib, and like add some more pizzazz to it. I want to invite my middle school so we can like pack out the crowd even more.
Yeah.
And so like, those my goal is to like, dress it out, like get some sponsors so I can get some flags and some more banners out. If you're gonna come or if somebody from Mile Split is gonna come, like let's talk about streaming the meet. Um,
Hmm.
so like I just wanna put a lot of eyes and I wanna, like I said, make it more visually appealing. and make it more fun. Like I'm gonna bring a DJ this year so we can have a DJ to play in the dead spaces, and even if that's just at the beginning of the meet or before the 4x4, um cause Matt does an amazing job with our
The
track.
voice.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I just want to, like, I'm gonna talk to him too about like how I can like support him, and like I'm gonna lean into him. So like if he's open to like us having some music around or whatever, like I'm here, I'm all for it. Cause I just came back from Festival of Miles. My wife hosted Festival of Miles, and they had a DJ in the middle of the field the whole time. You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
we know that, we know we can get somebody there for like four hours. It's just figuring out which part of the 4 hours we want them to come. But like, yeah, I just want to make that meet just as fun as it is competitive. So yeah,
Yeah, that's a good meet. You mentioned Missouri. I don't know who you know at Lee Summit West out of Missouri, but you might want to get a phone call with them boys. They got
yeah, yeah.
a
Hey, them-
20.6, a 10.6, and a 46 guy returning. So,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know your boy do all those. So you might
yeah.
want to make a call to Lee Summit West.
I
Uh,
might, I might have to. Like, yeah, I know
that's
somebody in
sick.
Kansas. I know somebody in Kansas City, and I know Lee Summit is probably close to them. So, I'm
Yeah,
gonna reach out.
yeah, those are fast. You mentioned traveling coming up to the north and things like that. I do notice you've taken squads out to Oregon, like more specific to Nike, indoor and outdoor national
For sure.
events. Why is that important to do for
Exposure.
you?
So people go to East Side because they travel, right? When you travel, that's how they get their rankings, right?
Mhm.
And so in track and field, people run summer track because they travel, right? Um, and again, it's one of those things that, when if you ask a kid that's done a sport, what's their fondest memory, it's never about a performance. It's always about, you know, traveling, right? But the other part about that for me is exposure, right? When we was coming through, I didn't know how far track and field could take me, right? But I love track because I travel. Like in the summertime, we was traveling all over the country. Track and field showed me the world, literally. You know what I mean? Like when I graduated from college, I had my first track meet after college was in France. You know what I'm saying? So I like it's invaluable, and it reshaped my mind, right? And so for me, taking these boys up to Chicago to go to your meet and go to Johnny's meet, like when they come back down, they remember those feelings. They got a little extra edge about them, or a little extra motivation when they come to practice. And then so when I can throw them out there in the fire in Oregon and in New York, it's like, all right, we're gonna take some lumps, but we also gonna get some exposure. So then these colleges that don't come to the Midwest gonna see my kids, and they gonna be intrigued by them, right? But then it also, again, it sets them up so when they do get to sectionals, and I remember like my second year coaching, everybody was nervous at sectionals, right? What you nervous at sectionals for? You've been running these times. You running qualifying times already. What's the big deal? Well, the big deal is they hadn't been to this big of a meet before. So for me, it's about exposing these kids to bigger meets so that our actual big meet doesn't feel as big as it actually is. So they're more comfortable in pressure. And then like I said, exposure, bro. Like Quez got eighth at Nike Outdoor Nationals as a sophomore in the 200, and he got sixth in Emerging Elite in the 400. Like that confidence that he had from doing that made him like unstoppable this year. You know what I mean? The same with like Troy, when he came back from Nike Indoor Nationals and stuff. So
Mm.
so like, that's my whole mission. Like, track and field is 90% mental. Like Quez just ran when he ran at 45, you know what I'm saying? And I think like
Just ran. Cut it out,
he
man.
just I mean, no, but like
Was sick.
I mean
That
he
was
just went
nasty.
after it. You know what I'm saying? He just went after it, like fearlessly. Quez is fearless because I throw him in the fire a lot, you know? And so I that doesn't happen if we just running, you know, up and down Frank Scott Parkway, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, Yeah, that was sick. Yeah, he definitely one of the faces of track. Like I said, I'm glad he came to Chicago. He actually won MVP, and people are like, where's Belleville West? Like, who is that guy? Well, why don't you go ask him? So
Yeah,
again, like I said, a lot of people don't travel to the state meet from Chicago. They just hear about it in the Tribune.
for
But to
sure.
see some of these guys like Quez and Rainer Ragland, where's Alton? Where's Belleville West? Like, dude, it's
Yeah,
life outside of South Shore, Flossmoor, and Whitney Young. So
yeah.
we glad y'all came. A few more questions before to be exact. Based off what you've learned through college, through coaching, whether it's at East Side or Belleville West, um, if it was, this is actually probably a two-part question. Um, what what do you think? What do you think you can, if you could take anything back to your high school days of competing? Um, what would you take back based off what you learned along the way? 'Cause a lot of times you're like, man, if I would have known this back when I was in high school, I would have did this. So is this something you can pull from your experiences as a coach and coaching these current athletes to bring back to East St. Louis Alonzo Nelson?
Oh yeah, like I think like honestly and truly, like I was the type of athlete that the coaches never had to worry about. Lonzo was gonna be at practice. Lonzo was gonna go all out. Lonzo was gonna do the extra, all of that stuff. But because I was that athlete, a lot of attention wasn't given to me, right? But if I was to do it all over, I would probably run more 800s. You know what I'm saying? I would have ran an 800 more. I would have ran more open events, flat out. You know what I'm saying? Um, uh, I know how to run the 300 hurdles now. I didn't know it in high school. You know, we I was just fortunate to like be a good hurdler and be fast and like I had body control, you know. So I had gotten to the point where I probably should have been alternating my senior year, right? But my coach didn't teach me how to alternate. And so I would attack the first hurdle, like shorten my steps into the second hurdle and then open back up and 15 step home. You know what I'm saying? But you know, knowing what I know now, I probably would have I would have been 14 stepping my first three hurdles, you know, and then running downhill at the end. But absolutely would have ran more 800s. I would have run some more 800s in college as well, and ran some more 400s in college. You know what I'm saying? So I think I would have probably been more vocal about what I wanted to do, because I do recognize that my coaches did respect me, and like honestly and truly, if I Nino Fanoy, the way he was wired, so I ran for John Davis, you know.
Hmm.
John Davis knew what it takes to win state, and he knew that like if you ain't got no strong relays, you ain't winning state. Nino
Hmm.
Fanoy, Nino Fanoy, he like if this kid is better than the team, I'm gonna showcase this kid. So like Dawn will run 100-meter hurdles, the 300 hurdles, and the 200 and the 4x4. You know what I'm saying? And like my sophomore year, my freshman year, I used to run all the relays, the 4x8, 4x1, 4x2, and 4x4. Or
That's
or like some meets where I ran the 400 and the 300 hurdles. Like it was a freshman sophomore meet, Pierre. I kid you not. I won the 400, walked across the track to the start of the 300 hurdles, and ran and won the 300 hurdles. Right. And like, so honestly and truly, like knowing that I could do that, I probably would have tried to do it more. You know what I mean? And again, where we from, I'm a train for it. You know, nothing's off the table. I don't know if you remember, like it was a couple of years ago. It was a long time ago now, but when Angelo Taylor was coming back, he was
yeah,
running a 400. He was running an open 400 and a 400 hurdles same day.
beast.
You know what I'm saying? And so like the human body is as strong as you make it, you know? And so like yeah, hindsight, like I definitely would have ran more open events and I would have paid more attention to that eight.
That's right. Um, Mount Rushmore, obviously, his four heads on there.
Yeah.
Eliminating West athletes, because you probably could just put your 4x4 up there and call it a day. But if you eliminate the West athletes, who's on your Mount Rushmore of Illinois track and field? And this could be a boys list or a girls list, or however you want to do it.
Man, so Mount Rushmore, like it's
Great is the goats of this.
to be honest, like bro, it honestly for me, I'm partially East St. Louis, so it's gonna be like your Jackie Joyner Kersey, my wife, um, Detar Anderson. That's who I grew up like just knowing about. Rodney Session.
Rodney Session.
Yeah.
Hey, that's your list. Hey, that's your list.
Yeah.
And we'll get you out of here on this. Obviously, a lot of people are familiar with the current run at Belleville West. We know about Troy, obviously Quez. For those who don't know, Belleville West does have the last three state titles in the 400. You all Belleville West athlete has won it 3 years in a row. Jalen Cole is a repeat winner and new state record holder in the 110 hurdles. Obviously, Quez is on his way, it appears, and you've had some jumpers and things like that. And you have some two trophies. There's one right there behind you to back up your most recent success. I'm not sure how long you plan on being at Belleville West, but when it all comes to an end, this coaching thing, what would success have looked like in the eyes of Alonzo Nelson?
Um, to be honest, I want some more state records. Like I want some state all-time records, right? I want the 4x4 all-time record.
Mm.
I want the 4x4 all-time record. I want the 400 all-time record. I want the 100 and 200 all-time record. And I want that 4x1 and that 4x2 like all-time record. And so like quite naturally like some of those records I want next year, you know.
Which one? Spill the beans now. Tell us Quez event load. Give it to us now.
Um so yeah, like I think Quez has the ability to get the 100 and the 200 flat out. And honestly the 400. Like we saw
Mm.
that we missed the 4x4 like all-time record by like 1.38 seconds. You know what I mean?
Give
And
some light. That's kind of specific, dude. You must know that.
yeah, look, bro, like
That's about
so
1.38.
my two middle legs, if one of them would have just ran 49, bro, we had that record, you know.
Mm.
And I got the tools, like they all coming back. I had a sophomore group, all of them ran 52 early this season. Like all of them. Well, three of them ran 52 and one ran 51, right? And y'all haven't seen my sophomores yet. Well, y'all seen two of them. Like my second leg on a 4x1 is a sophomore, and my second leg on a 4x4 was a sophomore, right? And so like yeah, I want that record. Like to be honest, like I want to go 310 or faster in a 4x4, right?
Mm.
And that 4x1 we can get close to 39. I think that the state of Illinois has the ability to like we can run those Texas times, right? Despite the
Yeah.
weather that we got. And like you saw like how Belleville East and Belleville West both eclipsed 41 and
Sick.
and that was like amazing. And I think and like the scarier thing about
Only if y'all was one school.
yeah, right. Hey look, we tried to put it together for a summer track meet, like put our 4x1s together. Their bodies is just fried though. But
I get it.
but Belleville East had a decent amount of injuries and so like they could have run a lot faster this year. And so don't
Ooh.
be surprised if
Yeah.
they go fast next year, like flat out. Danny Donaldson is doing some amazing things over there. Um, but yeah, like I want a significant amount of records, and like for me now, where I'm at in my program, my goal is to put out those times that like those NAIA schools and those D3 schools are putting out. You know what I mean? Those lower D1 schools, because like the work that my boys put in, the work that like my coaching staff puts in, like you know what I'm saying? Why not? So like that's the way I see stuff. That's the way I attack it, and that's the way I speak life into my boys.
That's right. Yeah, Belleville West guys. There he is, Alonzo Nelson. Sounds like you're gonna have the summer off. Sound
Well,
like
hey, Quez, and J. Cole, and my 4x4 is going to Nike next week.
what they running, what those open events look like.
So Quez is running 100 and 200. I might pull him out the 100, but he running 100 and 200.
Don't, please don't.
And
No.
J. Cole's running the 110s there. Um, we like I'll let you know we added Dalen Donaldson is he's gonna run the 110s there, and we made a Belleville Township 4x4. So we got a Belleville Township 4x4. We had a Belleville Township 4x1, right? But Jalen DeWalt, he tweaked his hamstring, so
Mm,
we had to nix that one. But yeah, like they was probably gonna go 39.
that's
Um,
small.
we was
That's definitely
excited,
small.
but it's not in the cards this year. But yeah, like I'm taking them to nationals, and then I'm done for the rest of the year.
Shit. Get to take that break. Then I
Yeah,
believe we'll cross paths in February with the Dr. World meet.
I'll be
Hopefully in
back.
Chicago. That contract will be going out in August, September. You got a star in this state, so he has to be there. We'll find a way to, if we can. I want to. Hopefully nobody else say nothing. We can find a way to cut that bill down. We'll see what we can do. But I definitely appreciate your time and reopening this podcast show after 6 years, and whoever's next got a tough act to follow.
I appreciate you for having me, bro. Much respect.
Yes. Yeah, thanks, and congratulations on your team's success up to this point.
To
Yes,
God
sir.
be the glory, bro. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks. Tell your
Yep.
wife she up next.
For sure.
All right.
All right.